Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome back on Isabelle's talk show. Today, I'm so happy to welcome my friend from Portugal, and she was my first guest when I decided that new adventure of being live on Facebook. And thank you again, Luisa Batista, for being here today. And she's here with us to talk about an important topic. And before we start with the topic, I just want to introduce Luisa, who was born and raised in Amsterdam and now lives in Portugal, as I said to you, together with her husband, 5 dogs and 2 cats. When she's not working, you can find Luisa curling up on the sofa with her 6 dogs and 2 cats, reading a psychological thriller, or in her kitchen baking one of her delicious vegan cakes. She's a coach, licensed breathwork and trauma release facilitator and yoga teacher. Before starting this career, she worked as a translator and an English teacher, making jewelry and teaching Zumba and yoga on the side. Luisa has always been interested in people, and it's what makes them tick. After overcoming multiple traumatic events and depression, she became especially interested in the body-mind connection. She's completed various coaching and yoga trainings and is a licensed breath work and trauma release therapist. Using breath work and yoga, Luisa now helps people overcome past trauma and prolonged stress so they can become more authentic, healthier, and happier. So welcome, Luisa, and today you're going to talk about breathing work.
Yes, thank you very much for that nice introduction that I wrote myself, I think.
Yes, you did, and I put some more in it.
Yes, you did. It's always weird to, it's nice to hear someone else saying, you know, playing the flute. That's what we say in Dutch. Anyway, yes, I'm going to talk about breathing and the breath work that I use with my clients. I would like to first start with why breath is important. So everyone breathes. If you're not breathing, that's not a good sign. So breathing is involuntary. It's automatic. And just like your heart beats, you can't really, you know, control your heartbeat. Well, you can control it a little bit. You can slow it down or make it a little bit faster, but you can't will it to stop. And that's the same with breathing. And you breathe in and out all day and all night long without realizing it. And it's not something you have to think about, which is good because you breathe about 20,000 breaths every day, which is about 7 million per year. And the breath, like good breathing is belly breathing, diaphragmatic breathing. And when we're born, you know, we naturally breathe in our belly with our diaphragm. But because of stress, when we get older, because of stress and because, you know, you want to have a good posture and hold our stomach in, we start breathing a little bit higher, which is not as efficient as belly breathing. Now, and I like you said in the introduction, the link between body and mind. That's what really fascinates me. What happens in your body affects what happens in your mind and vice versa. So breathing is very important for your physical and mental health. Because if you're stressed, your breathing speeds up and you breathe more shallow and high up in your chest. And vice versa, when you speed up your breathing and bring it high up in your chest, you become agitated and stressed. You get that feeling of restlessness and a little bit anxious maybe. Now, when you're stressed, that means that your sympathetic nervous system is activated, your fight-flight mode. And that means that your heartbeat speeds up, your breathing becomes more shallow and high up in your chest. The blood goes to your muscles and you get ready to fight or flight, literally. And if you are in fight-flight mode for too long, that will impair your health. Because the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode, goes to the back burner. And the rest and digest mode is what regulates your immune system. Sorry, I had to look for the word in my notes. And being in that stressed mode, in that fight-flight mode, also impairs your reasoning. So can't really think very clearly when you're in stress mode, because you're just, getting ready to fight or flee. So I'm going to stress this. The only decision that you're allowed to make when you're stressed is sit down and tune in to your body and your breath. So like I said, breathing happens naturally and automatically, but if, for example, you're anxious, stressed, or if you have a cold or a lung condition, like asthma, for example, or the other one, I forget the name, breathing can be very challenging. So I would like to ask you, Isabelle, what do you feel when you're out of breath or stressed?
Well, when I'm out of breath, I obviously can't breathe properly, and I feel tired. I don't recuperate as quickly as possible. And when I'm stressed, my heart beats faster, and it's a vicious circle, because I can't breathe properly, and so my heart goes up and my gut goes up, because and I can't breathe properly. So I don't get the oxygen. I don't get the clarity, as you were saying, and the emotion takes over.
Yeah. Yes. Well, that's a really good description. I think most people have the same feelings and emotions and experiences that you're describing. And what you do is you actually start breathing very fast, or you take really big breaths in, which is counterproductive, because when you take big breaths, you breathe out too much carbon dioxide. This is a little bit, science. I've looked it up. I'm not a scientist. And because you breathe out too much carbon dioxide, your blood vessels constrict, and that actually reduces blood flow. So you get less oxygen in your brain and the rest of your body. And when you breathe fast, you activate that sympathetic nervous system. So that makes you go even more into fight or flight mode. And you get more anxious. So I'm going to give you an exercise that you can do. Like I said, the only decision that you can make when you're feeling stressed is to sit, or you can stand if you want, or lie down, and maybe close your eyes if you are in a situation where you can, and maybe you want to go to the bathroom or somewhere where you can be on your own, and then tune in with your body. What are you feeling? And I'm first going to give you an exercise where you relearn to breathe with your diaphragm, diaphragmatic breathing or belly breathing. Lots of people call it belly breathing. I call it belly breathing. And how you do that is you sit or you lie down with your knees bent. So when you're lying down, you bend your knees, maybe have something underneath your knees to give them some support. And when you're in a chair, you just sit with your feet on the floor so that your knees are bent. Okay, now in this belly breathing, that will improve the blood flow and oxygen, delivery of oxygen, and it will make you less anxious. You'll feel more calmer after 5 minutes or so, really quickly. So, and the more you practice belly breathing, the more natural it becomes for you. The less you have to think about it, and you can just, tune in. Oh, what am I doing? I'm stressed. I'm, not being rational. Let's calm down, sit down, and do this exercise. So, sit in a chair, your feet on the floor, or like I said, lying down with your knees bent and the feet on the floor. And you just relax your upper body, your shoulders, your head. You can rest your head against the back of the chair. And then you place one hand on your upper chest and the other one right below your rib cage. So in between your rib cage and your belly, sort of your stomach. And then you breathe in slowly through the nose. And you bring the air all the way down into your diaphragm, your belly. You'll feel your belly rising underneath your hand. And see if you can keep that hand on your chest still. So your chest is not expanding like this. You breathe in and the hand on your belly goes up. And then as you exhale, you tighten your abdomen, your abdominal muscles. And you exhale, and you can do this through the nose or through the mouth. And you feel the hand on your belly go down again. So you can do this with me. Breathe in through the nose, slowly. Feel your belly rising against your hand, and then you breathe out slowly, either through the mouth or the nose. And see if you can really visualize your breath going down towards your hand on your belly. And breathe out. And I always close my eyes because my concentration is better when I close my eyes. So I invite you to close your eyes. So breathing in, visualizing your breath going down all the way into your belly. And then out again. Feel the hand on your belly going down. Okay, so that's one exercise you can do to just practice that natural breathing that you were born with. Now, the best time to do this exercise is when you're not stressed. So that you can really, really
practice,
concentrate on that movement. When you're stressed, I will give you an exercise to do when you're stressed. So let's say you're stressed. And like I said, stop whatever you're doing. If you're in a car and you're stressed out and the traffic is making you even more stressed, find a parking space if you can. If you're in a traffic jam, that might be harder. But anyway. And then first, bring your attention to your body. How are you feeling? How is your body feeling? And of course, you have all kinds of emotions, your all kinds of thoughts when you're anxious. So do a body scan and notice how your body is feeling. And you feel, scan your body and see where in your body do you feel tension. Maybe it's your shoulders, maybe it's your jaw, your neck, maybe it's your belly, your chest, anywhere. It can be in your hands. What parts of your body feel more relaxed? That would be interesting, maybe. What sensations do you feel in your body? Are you cold? Are you hot? Are you sweaty, clammy? All those things. What's your heart rate like? Where's your breath? Okay. So a quick and easy breathing exercise that will make you feel good is breathing as if you're smelling a rose. Smell a lovely fragrant rose. So breathe in through the nose, slowly and deeply, all the way into your belly, like we did just now, as if you're smelling a fragrant rose, and really visualize that rose. Close your eyes and maybe even bring your hands up, like as if you're holding a rose, and then smell that rose. And then you hold your breath for just 2 seconds or so, and then you breathe out through your lips as if you're blowing out a candle, but that also very slowly. So you breathe in, and then you breathe out. And you can repeat that anywhere from 3 to 10 times, and I promise you, you will feel much better.
I could smell the rose, you know. It's
yeah, very good. Maybe even you're in a place, a room or a garden even, where you can actually go and smell a flower. That'd be great. So I've got another one. The 2 times breath. This is a lovely breathing exercise when you want to slow down, really want to slow down, stop your thoughts from going on and on. Again, I do encourage you to always first tune in to your body. What are you feeling? What's going on? And then what you do with the 2 times breath. I often do this in yin yoga when we start the class. I do a small short meditation, and we do this breathing exercise. You breathe in for 3 or 4 counts, then you hold for 2, and then you breathe out for 6 or 8 counts. So you make your exhalation twice as long as your inhalation. Okay, let's do this together. Yeah? Are you ready?
ready.
Okay, so sit comfortably, and then you inhale through the nose. 1, 2, 3. Let's start with 3. Hold. 1, 2, and then breathe out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait. 1, 2, and then breathe in. 2, 3. Hold. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait. And then again. Breathe in. 2, 3. And that, you can do this for 5 or 8 times. See where you are, after 8 or 10 times, maybe in the beginning. And notice then, how are you feeling after that exercise, after doing that exercise? Do you feel calmer? I think you will.
Oh, yes. I feel zen. I feel like, ooh, everything is fine.
Yay, wonderful. Okay, so I would also like to talk a little bit about the modality that I work with my clients, the breathwork modality. And I see we only have 12 minutes left. I'll try and be a little bit
don't worry, we've got plenty of time. There's no limit.
Oh, okay. I thought it was limited to half an hour. All right.
Wow.
So I work with a breathwork modality called BBTRS. That is the Biodynamic Breathwork and Trauma Release System. And a BBTRS session involves breathwork, of course, touch, movement, sound, emotions, energy in motion. I will explain this in a bit, and meditation right at the end of a session. So the breath work consists of this special breathing technique where we breathe in a circle without pauses between the inhalations and exhalations. So, yeah, very interesting. So you breathe in and out and in and out in a circle without pause. And one half of the circle is the inhalation, and the other half is the exhalation. So they're equal length without pause. Slow, not quick, like, oh my God, maybe I'm going to hyperventilate. No, you're not going to hyperventilate. What we do is activate, by breathing this way, you activate that sympathetic nervous system. And now you're thinking, oh, but there, you see, I'll get in my fight flight mode. No, not quite. Because we're going to stay in the window of tolerance. And the window of tolerance is where you get activated, active, but you're not stressed out. You don't go outside of your window of tolerance. When you operate within the window of tolerance, any stress that you are experiencing is, you can endure it without being too uncomfortable. Am I saying this okay? Do you understand what I mean?
I understand.
Okay. So what happens when we activate the sympathetic nervous system is that the stuck energy in the body, wherever you feel tension, that starts to move. It starts to activate, and it rises up, and it's literally energy in motion, which is emotion. And what we want is to release that stuck energy that's been stuck there because of prolonged stress, for example, because of trauma, big or small, that you may have experienced. Mostly it's because the stress cycle hasn't been completed. A stress cycle is when you're, for example, you are an animal. You are an animal. Humans are animals. So that's why our stress response system works the same as with animals. When they are being chased by a predator, they flee. And once they've escaped, they shake it off.
Yeah.
Or sometimes when they get caught, they pretend that they're dead. They go into a frozen state. And once the danger is gone, they shake it off, look around, like, what, am I safe now? Yep, shake it off, and off they go. Humans are not really used to doing that. So that fight-flight energy is still in the body. So it seems like, everything's okay again, but the stress cycle hasn't been completed. Okay. So with this breathing that we do, we let stuck energy become loose, starts to travel, it comes up. This brings up emotions, which of course brings feelings. And what you do is acknowledge those feelings and emotions without attaching any meaning to it. So without thinking, oh yes, this must be because of this and that, or you just, without thinking, feel what's happening in your body. And the release of this energy happens with touch, for example. So if you feel that you have a lot of tension in your shoulders, you can touch your shoulders, massage. Maybe you want to massage your jaw because it's really tight. You can use tapping. You can use movement, all kinds of movement. We also have special exercises, massaging certain body parts in a special way. You can kick, and you can also use sound, your voice, sighing, or maybe groaning or screaming even. As it can be quite liberating as well. It can also be joyful. Sometimes people start laughing when they're releasing energy.
Exactly, when they release.
Or they start crying. Anything can happen. Well, and all this is, of course, under my guidance. I'm, I try and make sure that people say, "Are you okay? Are you
Uh-huh.
here? Okay."
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
I heard
Go
all kinds
ahead.
of sounds. Anyway, so that's what we do with this breath work, and then like I said, focusing on emotions and feelings in the body, and these feelings, we call those felt sensations. Felt sensations can be on your skin, that can be itchy or tingly or cold. Maybe you feel contraction somewhere or tension. Your throat can be dry or
Mhm.
moist or constricted. Um, Stuff like that. And you really feel into your body and try to um, really notice those felt sensations. What does it feel like? What does that energy feel like? And what do I want to do? Do I want to move or scream or stomp with my feet or massage somewhere? That's breath work. And then it ends with a 10 to 15-minute meditation where you go completely back into your rest and digest, your parasympathetic mode, and digest what happened during the session.
Mhm. Yeah, all the emotions or what you've discovered. I mean, because sometimes we think, oh, I'm going to release it by shouting, and on that day, that's not what you want to do. You just want to just like be quiet and or having a massage. So in a way, it's listening to ourselves, listening to our body, how we react.
Yes. And the thing is also that a lot of people, well, let me speak for myself. I went through a big period in my life where I really didn't know what I was feeling. And I um, actually at some point didn't think I had any feelings, which
Mm.
may sound weird, but through yoga, at first yoga, and later breath work, I started to go inside and allow myself to feel. The breath work was really, really important in that I discovered, I do have feelings, I'm just suppressing them all the time. And what happens when you suppress and deny your feelings, that's, I mean, no good comes of that. You get pains and aches. You are not your best self. When you're stressed, you're not as nice to other people as you could be or would like to be. All kinds of things like that. So yeah, it really helped me, and discovering breathwork made me decide to become a breathwork facilitator, and that's what I do now.
Wow, wow, and well done, and thank you very much for sharing your tips and 3 exercises we can do to reduce the intensity of emotions or of stress. And what I would take today is just to listen to ourselves and acknowledge that sometimes it can happen. We are stressed. There are some emotions, and don't repress your emotions or your feelings, but work on them through yoga and breath work. So, well, Luisa, thank you very so much for today. Is there anything else you want to add, or people can contact you in the description? I've mentioned the Luisa's email address, and you can see as well along on the below the picture Luisa's email address, so you can contact her to get more information. Anything else you want to add, Luisa, or just breathe?
If you want to ask me anything, drop me an email, or you can get some more information about breathwork as well on my website, luisabatista.com. There are also more breathing exercises that you can get when you drop your email in there, and you'll get a PDF with some breathing exercises, like 2 of those we did here during this talk show. So.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you ever so much. So next week, thank you again, Luisa, but next week we will have John Cobell with us, and we are going to talk about you have the power to create your life. So don't forget to next week with John from Canada. And if you've missed the previous talk shows, don't worry. Connect on YouTube, look for Phoenix Coaching and Training, subscribe, click on that little bell, and then you will get the notification of the next talk show whenever I uploaded it. So thank you again, Luisa, and audience, I'll see you next Monday. Bye.
Bye-bye.